to talk to all three finalists in the National League. We got Bud Black, Craig Counsell, and Brian Snitker of the Atlanta Braves. Bud, I want to begin with you. Of the three guys up here, you're the only one that managed in the big leagues with a different team, and you were let go. What did you learn from that experience that has helped you with the Colorado Rockies?
Well, I think experience is always the best teacher. I think as you go through, in my case, my first job, like you said, from 2007 until now, I would hope that I've changed and learned some things along the way. And sitting out a year, I think, gave me a great perspective as well. My year in Anaheim, in between San Diego and Colorado, gave me great perspective as well. So I would like to think that, what I've learned over the years has been put into place in Denver.
Craig, hey man, Sean Casey. For me, watching you be a Milwaukee kid, and your dad worked for the organization when you were growing up, and you were so young back then. Could you just talk a little bit about what it was like with the city of Milwaukee absolutely going nuts this summer? Come down to postseason. We were all fans. We were so fired up for you guys. But for you, having that special connection, what was that like for you?
Well, it's why I wanted to do the job, I think. We took our fans on a great journey this year. It was a heck of a ride, and as a Wisconsin kid and getting to enjoy, the '82 World Series, being able to play on some Brewer playoff teams, in 2008 and 2011, to do it again for the fans and be on a great run was a blast.
Hey, Brian, it's Dan O'Dowd. With a season of so many ups and downs, so many different turns, the highs are highs and the lows are lows, you always seem to find a positive in the most difficult situations, and then the ability to just turn the page and move on to the next day. How did the 20 years of managing in the Braves organization prepare you for the way you handle things?
Well, I've been through a lot, and it's just, I think the biggest thing that I can say for myself is I understand that this is a rough game. And, I'd always tell teams, I don't care if we're going good or bad, today's always the day that we can start something really good and start a winning streak, and I sat real close to Bobby for a number of years and watched him navigate through the same type of things. And I think the biggest thing you can be is consistent in your demeanor and how you approach each day. And I approach each day like we're getting ready to run off 10 in a row.
Hey, buddy, Danny, I've known you a long time. And, you are so emotionally under control in a role where you're having to manage everybody else's emotions all the time. How are you so good at doing that?
Well, Dan, you're right. We have known each other a long time. I just who I am. I think that, to even what Brian said earlier, and congratulations to Brian and Craig. Those guys had great seasons. But you got to be yourself. And I think as, watching other managers, watching players, as I grew as a player and a coach and as a manager, I always respected those players, those coaches, those managers that stayed under control. And I think there's something to that. I think the poise factor that all great leaders have is something that players respond to. And again, I've maybe been fortunate just to have that within me.
Brian, you have so many good players in that lineup, so many good young players. And I think when you look at the Braves, you think about the future is so bright. How fun is it for you to plug those guys in that lineup night in and night out?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think that youth, enthusiasm, energy, emotion, all those things that these young guys have, it makes it fun to come to the ballpark every day. I had Rafael Furcal as a young kid in the minor leagues, and it was like the guys like that, you couldn't wait to get to the ballpark to be around those guys. All these guys here, they have so much fun playing baseball that it's just fun to be around them, fun to be a part of it, and they're just a talented group that's going to continue to get better.
And finally, Craig, from Aguilar and Thames at first base to Scope, Shaw, Moustakas, you juggled that. You have 5 outfielders. They say it's a good problem to have, but they're not the ones telling Domingo Santana he's not playing for the 4th straight game. Would you say that the deep roster that you eventually inherited was one of the bigger challenges you had in 2018?
You know, it's the thing that really our players deserve the most credit for. They did a great job with this, understanding that there was some sacrifices they were going to have to make for us to, you know, ultimately get all these great players on the roster and accomplish, you know, as much as we did. So, you know, it's about they trusted kind of our process and our decisions, and we trusted them, and it worked out. But they definitely had to make a sacrifice through this, and I give them a lot of credit in doing so and helping us achieve what we did.
Craig Counsell, Brian Snicker, Bud Black. Guys, thank you for joining us. Stand by. One of you will be named the NL Manager of the Year in moments here on MLB Network. Lots to talk about with these three guys. Dan, I want to start with you because you understand Coors Field and the dilemma that exists with pitching. I don't know what Bud Black did or if he's the guy that we should, you know, pat on the back for this, but a team that could not get their starters to thrive in the first half of the season at home, all of a sudden they were one of the best home staffs in all of baseball. How would you explain it?
Well, I don't think it's one person. I think it's an entire organizational approach, drafting, developing better arms. They had very, very, very talented guys. But at the same point in time, Greg, Buddy's got this unique ability to be able to put the players in a position to where their skill set is maximized the most, and he doesn't get off guys. If they struggle at all, he's going to reassure them that things are going to be okay. And what he's done, taking a young group of starting pitchers, to me, they have as young a talented starting rotation there is in the National League, and a lot of that's a credit to his calmness and his approach and his ability to communicate consistently and when it matters most.
Yeah, and he's learned a lot, like you said, from his first managerial gig with the Padres. As for Craig Counsell, this is his first managerial gig. He's been there for a while now, but it must help in a market like Milwaukee to get guys like Yelich and Kane to buy in and want to play there when no one loves being in Milwaukee more than the manager, right?
I totally agree with that. You talk about communicator and a guy that those players love playing for. You know, Craig Counsell, I played against Counsell all those years that I was in the big leagues, and this guy was a gamer, man. He came for you night in and night out, and he'd find a way to get things done. And when I looked at that Milwaukee team this year, and you talked about Yelich and Kane coming over there and being such huge impact to that lineup. And I love the question you asked him, Greg, about mixing and matching guys. That's tough.
Yeah.
As a big league ball player, when I got to come to the lineup and I'm come in every day, look at the lineup and not know exactly what's going on, but buy in when my manager says, hey, we're all in this together, guys, all hands on deck. Let's get it done. And I think when you looked at the Brewers down the stretch and they're one game away from the World Series, you felt that presence from Craig Counsell that those guys bought in, especially when they went and got Moustakas. They got Scope. They take Travis Shaw. Hey, you go play second base. Buy in. And I think he was the main reason they did. And I think he did a masterful job with that bullpen. I think he did a masterful job during the season and in the postseason. Deserves a ton of credit.
And Dan, as a former GM, you hired managers.
Right.
You interviewed a lot of these candidates that tried to get the gig, and you could see guys that were better for veteran ball players and managers that could help young players. Is there a better young player manager right now than Brian Snicker?
No, I don't think there is. And, you know, that gets back to the years of development that he's put into this job. You can't replace. You can learn knowledge. Wisdom is acquired. He's got a lot of wisdom. He knows exactly how to utilize his personnel. And somewhat like Buddy, he had to navigate some very, very challenging bullpen issues this year. The one thing that can fracture a young club is when their bullpen, you don't win the games you're supposed to win, and yet he overcame that. And he started to create a belief in this team. And then you can see it was almost like a tidal wave coming. And when that hit the shore, not only was this team good this year, they're set up to be really good as they move forward.
What was a bigger shock? The Braves winning the East when we all talked about the Washington Nationals being the slam dunk favorite, or the Brewers over the Chicago Cubs? What was the bigger upset of 2018?
Wow. I'd have to say the Braves. I just didn't think they would do what they did. And I think Snicker deserves a lot of that credit, but I really didn't think. I thought they were another year away from doing what.
Well, you know, the Brewers finished up 2017 really well. And then they went out and made two critical acquisitions with Yelich and Kane.
Yeah.
Now, you knew the Braves at some point in time were going to be good, but we didn't believe that maybe in 2018 that would be the year. And then all of a sudden, you never know how close you are in the game, Greg.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it just clicked for them, so they would be the bigger surprise.
They went from rebuilding to reloading in a hurry. And they ended up going to the postseason. Once again, three tremendous finalists the Rockies field general Bud Black, the new age thinking Craig Counsell, and the Braves skipper Brian Snitker.
The votes are in, and it's time to announce the winner in the National League. We will find out who the NL Manager of the Year is and get their immediate reaction after the break.